Hey 7th graders, today's assignment is your DNA article summary, and your very first activity today is to establish your notebook for this unit. So you guys are going to go into your OneNote. You guys are going to create a new section, and in that new section you're going to title it DNA. It's going to be a pretty quick little section because we only spend about 2 weeks on DNA. Okay, in that you're going to have 2 pages. The first one's going to be a DNA structure, and the second one is going to be mutations. So you guys can see how that's set up right there. So I have a section, add section for DNA, and then 2 pages, structure, DNA, and mutations. Under structure DNAs, you guys need to add these 2 pages today. So what we're going to kind of look at for DNA structure is a gene, which you guys should have heard that. Oh, it's in their genes, okay? Gene is a segment of DNA that makes a certain protein, which influences traits. So we're really going to be focusing on genes a lot in the next unit when we talk about different traits like eye color, okay? It's not DNA that makes our eyes brown or blue or green or red, okay? It's actually the proteins. So our DNA makes proteins, and then those proteins are what give us the traits and the features that we see, okay? And it might even control how our body works. So a gene is just a little piece of DNA that codes for a certain protein, and that protein has a job in our body. Okay, DNA is called a blueprint for life. Okay, again, it's called a blueprint because a blueprint is like a plan. Okay, it only gives us the instructions or the recipe on how to make proteins. It doesn't actually like make our eyes blue. Okay, it's the proteins that does. So it gives us instructions to build proteins, and we need proteins to live. So it's just a blueprint. It's just a recipe. Okay. We have a little organelle in our cells called ribosomes, and those are kind of like the little chefs. They take that DNA and they read it like a recipe, and they make proteins. Okay, and again, their proteins are kind of like their cake they bake, or whatever the case is. We find those DNA in the nucleus, and then as we focus in a little bit more on mutations later in this little mini unit, we're going to see that there are changes in our DNA, and those aren't always bad. They can be really good too, but I think mutations really get a bad rap. But we're going to talk a lot about mutations at the end of this unit and then all through the next unit. Okay, DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's a double helix, meaning it's 2 strands that twist. So yesterday in class, we should have made that little origami DNA molecule. And you guys notice it had one white side up the other, and then the other part was the other white side. Those are your 2 strands. And you guys notice how they kind of had that twisting shape once you were done folding them. So that kind of describes the shape of DNA. DNA is made up of building blocks called nucleotides, and nucleotides consist of 3 things. So if we look at one brick or one building block of DNA, that's called a nucleotide. And in that brick or in that building block, we see one of the 4 nitrogen bases. So either A's, T's, C's, or G's. So A stands for adenine, G stands for guanine, T stands for thymine, and C stands for cytosine. Okay? In a second, I'll talk about these pairs. You'll also see in that building block or that brick a deoxyribose sugar. That's where DNA gets its name. And a phosphate group. So those 3 things come together to make one nucleotide or one brick of DNA, one building block of DNA. Okay? When we are taking our 2 strands and sticking them together, okay, they only stick together in a certain way. So if on one side of our DNA we have an A, the only thing we can stick to it is a T. Okay, they're like best buds. They need to go together. If we have a C, it would only go with a G. Okay, so if you guys look on those DNA strands that you guys made yesterday, you guys notice that you colored them 4 different colors. Okay, one color was orange. Notice that the second part of that triangle would be yellow. Okay, if you guys see yellow, then you guys see its mate being orange. Okay, same thing with blue and green. Those represent the T's and the A's, and the C's and the G's were the yellow and the oranges. Okay, so I kind of represented that in this picture as well. Okay, so this is what our picture of DNA looks like. We have 2 strands. It's double-stranded, so this black one shows one backbone, and this other black line shows the second backbone, and that kind of shows us that DNA is double-stranded. And notice how they twist. That's that helix shape. Okay, inside in the middle, we kind of have like rungs of a ladder. Those are our 4 nitrogen bases. Again, those are just one part of our nucleotides. So we see either A's, T's, C's, or G's. Okay, if our A's are the green ones, then we'll always see it paired up with the blue one, which is a T. Same with our C's, yellow, and our G's, orange. Okay, so notice those patterns or those combinations of colors all the way down. Okay, C and G, or the orange and yellow, always pair together. And A's and T's always pair together. Those are the blue and the green. Okay, so notice that. Okay, and then along these two little strands or these two little backbones, that's where we see the other parts of our nucleotides, our sugar, deoxyribose, and our phosphate group. Okay, here's what one little brick or one little nucleotide looks like. So if you guys look at your little strand of DNA that we made in class, you guys will notice these shapes. On the white part, you see this little black looking squished bug, as I like to call it. That's a phosphate group. You get to see this little pentagon that shows the sugar, deoxyribose, and then that little triangle in the middle shows us our nitrogen base, which is either an A, T, C, or G. Again, either a yellow C, an orange G, a blue T, or a green A. Okay, so all three of those together combine to make one nucleotide, and then we stick a bunch of nucleotides together to form our two strands of DNA. Okay, with that being said, you guys know a little bit about the structure of DNA, so let's go ahead and move on to today's assignment. So your instructions for this assignment is to use one of the websites on the next page to pick an article that has something to do with DNA. In science, a lot of things have to do with DNA, and that's kind of the whole point, is that you guys observe that DNA is really important in our studies with science. Find an article you're interested in, so obviously you guys want to find something that actually stands out to you and that you guys might be interested in it. Read that article, and then you guys are going to write a one-paragraph summary of your article that should be between 6 to 8 quality sentences using your own words. Okay, so those key things, you guys won't get credit for that if you guys copy and paste, or if you don't do 6 to 8 sentences, or whatever the case. So make sure you guys do that it's clear to read, and there's going to be a little checklist for you guys to do. Okay, each of these are good links if you guys find something else. Remember, it needs to be a current event, so it should be some kind of news article occurring within the last 6 months. Okay, so find a current event for one of those links right there. Tell me, copy and paste the link to your article and tell me the title of your article right here. And then go ahead and write your summary right here. You guys can make the font smaller if you need to. Again, 6 to 8 sentences. It needs to be your own words, and you need to have good sentences, okay? So it shouldn't just be like, I read an article. The article's name was blank. It was written by blank. You've just written 3 sentences, but you guys really haven't told me anything about the article. So it should be 6 to 8 sentences telling me what you guys learned in that article. Okay, when you are done, go back and reread your paragraph and then do this checklist. So reread it. Is your paragraph 6 to 8 sentences? If it is, check it. If it's not, go back and fix it. Okay? Is your paragraph 100% your guys' own words, or did you copy and paste or steal things directly from that article? If it's not, go back and fix it. Okay? Does your paragraph make sense? If it doesn't, go back and fix it. Your paragraph does a great job describing what the article is about. If not, go back and fix it. So make sure I can actually get an idea of what your article was about by reading your guys' summary. Once you guys have gone through your checklist and you can confidently check all those things off, you can go ahead and hand it in. And that concludes today's lesson. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks. Bye.